Well, good day, my beloved newbies. Jim McGuigan here, and if in fact you've tuned in to watch another one of my videos, I am so appreciative. Thank you so much. Today, I want to talk a little bit about writing in our classroom. Yesterday's video was about your classroom, you getting up there, getting up in front of those kiddies, those students of ours, and going for it, persevering, starting each lesson like P.T. Barnum, starting each lesson with energy and verve and grit, and going in there quickly, getting to the point, not being long-winded like old Mr. Mac. As far as your lessons go, try to get pique the interests of your students, get them hooked. And that's what we're going to talk today regarding writing. If you're like my district, or if for some reason you're not anyone I know and you're watching this video and you're a teacher, you've probably gone through the many changes in curriculum across all subject areas, as we have, where every few years it seems that our curriculums change. I mean, the curriculums stay the same, but the programs change. Reading series change, and writing. Many years ago, we had the program 6+1 traits. Then we moved into Craft Plus. It's always one thing or another. Districts will pour money into this program or that program, whatever's, I guess the most popular at the time. And we as teachers, we know what is best in the classroom. We know what's best for our classrooms, as far as being able to take it and teach it and use it effectively with our students. My personal favorite has been 6+1 traits. I've loved that program, and when it first came in, when it was first introduced to our district many years ago, I want to say 10 or 11 years ago, I discovered right away that it was a program that was after my own heart. It was kind of designed, it seemed like, it wasn't, but it seemed like it was designed around the way that I write and also the way that I teach. I had always taught writing. Anyway, I've always loved 6+1 traits. 6+1 is making a comeback with us, and I'm glad for that. Now, some of the newbies, you newbies, my beloved newbies, none of you have had the training for 6+1 traits. I'm hoping that our district will get someone in to provide training for all of you, but you do have some of us old dogs in the building that know of it. We had all the training and we used it, for many years, and until it moved into something else. But I have to say, even when it moved into something else, 6+1 traits for writing has it's always been a part of my writing curriculum. It's awesome. But anyway, today, something we started really talking about last year was getting our kids to become great writers. And, a lot of teachers find that hard to do. How do you make your student a great writer? How do you make your student that hates writing like writing? How do you make your student that likes writing love writing? And how do you make your students that love writing into amazing, fantastic writers? Well, it takes time. and it takes a lot of practice, but it takes a lot of inspiration, and it takes a lot of encouragement, and it takes a lot of practice. But the one thing we had been doing as teachers is, and maybe expecting a bit too much in the writing category in years past. We were getting our students geared into writing us a 4 to 5 paragraph paper, And we were hoping and expecting that this would happen very soon. We started right into that. We started right into getting our students to write a nice, long, lengthy paper, paragraphed out, 4 to 5 paragraphs, 5 or more sentences per paragraph, indented and great verbiage and great action verbs and just, And we all knew that, in the long run, definitely doable. By the end of 5th grade, our students should be able to, after 9 months, be able to write a nice 4-paragraph essay, an opening, 2 paragraphs of meat, and a closing paragraph. Absolutely. By the end of the year, after 9 months, our students should be able to write a competent paper. Absolutely. I've always that was what I strived for in my classroom, was by the end of the year. But a lot of teachers, and even the curriculum office and the administration, they were kind of thinking that was kind of the way to go. Not by the end of the year, but these kids, these 10-year-olds, should be writing 4 and 5 paragraph papers by Halloween. That's just nuts. That's just nuts. So finally, last year we really started talking deep about, realistic goals for our kids. Clear goals. Clear goals are important. We've just recently started talking about clear goals. Goals that are right there, full disclosure, transparent. And last year we really started working intelligently. Credit to our reading specialist and our administration, who really went all full force into this. And part of what this is getting our kids to become great writers, but also having realistic expectations. You can't expect kids are going to be fantastic writers and then writing this huge, gigantic paper. No. It just doesn't work that way. You got to start small and big. I know that sounds crazy, but you've got to start small with the physicality of the writing. A paragraph. I like to call it a power graph because, if a kid can learn to write a great paragraph, they can then scaffold onto that. They can become better writers. A great power graph. And a great power graph is structured in a certain way, especially an opening paragraph. The opening paragraph of anything, and this year we're big on narratives. I've always been big on narratives, thank goodness. The district has finally come around to my way of thinking. That's an arrogant Leo speaking for you, but they finally realized that narratives are it. The kids being able to write a story with dialogue and character and setting and scene and plot and all this awesome stuff. Writing nonfiction stuff is great, but a narrative is what it is. And even on the state tests, the standardized tests that come through, 9 out of 10 pieces that the kids have to write have been narratives. Yeah, they've had to read nonfiction, and the stories that they have to read in these tests are nonfiction, but the writing has to do with write a narrative. So thankfully, we have finally jumped on that wagon, and we're working with narratives this year, but we're working in a smaller framework, but with bigger results. And what I mean by that is this: a paragraph, an opening paragraph. There's a structure for it, and the structure is a hook, a tie-in, and then a thesis statement, the main idea of what the paper is going to be about, the rest of this video, I'm just going to concentrate on a hook. The tie-in and the thesis statement, I'll cover those in other videos. But tie-in is great. It's fun to teach, and it's one of those. It's a concept. The kids can get achieve concept attainment with what a hook is and how to they'll learn what a hook is, and they'll be able to apply it, in my opinion, a lot easier because it's in the concrete area. It's far less abstract than the tie-in is. Even the thesis statement, the kids have to get around that main idea thing. The hook is the kids use hooks every day in their language. We use hooks every day as teachers. We bait those kids. We hook them. We grab hold of them and we reel them in with opening our lessons in a grand way. Remember, being P.T. Barnum, just being bigger than life. Promising the world, there's a party coming up or something's coming up, we hook them, we let them know, come on, we've got all this awesome stuff that's coming up, but in order to get to there, we've got to finish this work, we've got to do it, we've got to work together. We use hooks all the time, the kids do too. At my kids' age, 10, 11 years old, they use them all the time. Even with one friend and another, one wants to play a game, one wants to play a sport. Well, they debate and they argue and they hook each other, and whoever has the best hook, that's the one the other friend goes with. So writing is that way. A hook is that first sentence in an opening paragraph that grabs the reader and reels them in. It makes them want to read the rest of what's going on. There are many kinds of hooks. The most common is to start a hook or to write a hook in the form of a question. But no matter what the hook is, whether it's a question, whether it's a statement, whether it's a fact, could be a bit of dialogue. It could be it could be a number of things. No matter what the hook is, it's going to ask the 5 WHs, we'll call it. The who, what, where, when, and why. All hooks are going to do that. If a kid is writing a paper and their hook isn't a question, their hook is painting a picture with words, like maybe it's a really awesome way that they described the scene or the setting. So their paper would open up with the forest was very dark and I could barely see my hand in front of my face. But then something caught my eye, and when I looked to the right, I saw the glimmering, shining eyes of the forest creatures staring at me. Now, that's intriguing. That would pull me in. To me, that's a hook. To me, that's a good hook. And I would want to read the rest. I would want to find out more about the forest. I would want to find out how far deeper into the forest is this character going to go. What's going to happen? What are these creatures with the shining eyes? Oh, yeah, that's a good hook. There's many different ways to teach the kids how to write a hook. Using some action or like I said, or starting it out really big. Suddenly outside, the huge crash echoed through the long halls of the building. Jim ran down and peered out the window, and what he saw amazed him. Well, that's a hook right there. First, you want to find out what happened. What was the big sound? What happened? What was it that amazed him? It's a hook. It pulls them in. Get your kids working on writing awesome hooks. Let them write questions. Let them write, but then have them diversify. You got to remove them out of their comfort zones. Hooks, for the most part, the easiest way to start a paragraph is to ask your reader a question. Have you ever seen a fairy? That's awesome. Because then, of course, the reader's going to say no, and they'll want to find out more. Why do you ask? And they'll continue to read. Then have them move out of their comfort zone. Have them write a hook that has to do with action. Have them use onomatopoeia, great sound words. In my classroom, I say onomatopoeia, but it makes the kids laugh. Have them use great sound words, bang, crash, or music playing, or bells ringing, or something. That's a hook too, because it brings the kids in, and it makes it interesting. A hook is how every narrative should start. Even the kids, the books that the kids choose to read, if it doesn't hook them right away, chances are they're going to give up on the book fairly soon. Even my best readers, and when I say my best readers, I don't mean the readers who are fluent in that regard. I mean my best readers, the readers who are true and genuine readers, the ones who love a good book and they've always got one and they finish it. My novel readers, the Harry Potterers, the Percy Jacksoners, the Lois Lowryers, whatever. They've gotten used to reading these awesome books that start out with a great hook. And in a novel, it's the first paragraph. It's got to hook the kid. And sometimes it isn't just the first paragraph, or the first sentence in the paragraph. Some great authors, some of my favorites, like Neil Gaiman, his book, The Graveyard Book, good God, that whole first chapter is a hook. Starts out with a murder. It does. It's awesome. And, it's great, that whole paragraph. You've got to find out what happens. You've got to keep going. And if that's up a kid's alley, the kid's hooked, So you've got to get your kids practicing with hooks. And, in your PLC meetings, talking with other ELA teachers and things like that, there are going to be plenty of resources available to have your kids practice with hooks. But let them see you, come up with some hooks too. That's important. You've got to model this stuff. You've got to model everything. But, your kids, especially the kids who hate writing, there are kids who feel about writing the way most kids feel about math. They just hate it. They can't stand it. And, they're the ones who complain all the time. They sit there. But I don't know how to start it. You got to let your kids know that writers rarely start at the beginning. Normally, no, even me as a writer, I usually start with the ideas I have, which is usually ideas that would happen in the middle of my story. So, you've got to put these kids at ease and let them know, so you don't have to worry about a beginning, just start writing. I teach my kids that writing from the heart is how every writer should begin. You write from the heart. You don't worry about mechanics. You don't worry about beginning, middle, end. You don't worry about indenting. You don't worry about paragraphs. You don't worry about verbiage. You don't worry about exciting verbs. You don't worry. All you do is you get that story on paper, or you get that story in the computer, right from your heart. You get it out of you and out into the world. You breathe life into your characters. You breathe life into your setting. Then, once everything is out, that's when you use your brain. Okay, you start from the heart. Later, once everything is out, that's when you use your brain. That's when you start polishing. That's when you start revising. That's when you maybe peer at it. You get somebody to read it aloud so you both can hear. So that because sometimes you go eye blind, brain blind, where you have missed all kinds of this, that, and the other. But if somebody reads it aloud to you, not your voice, not your inner voice, because your inner voice will lie to you and tell you that words are there that aren't. Use your brain after your story. It doesn't matter what your story looks like. In the beginning, we called it a sloppy copy. Your sloppy copy should be sloppy. Let it be sloppy. So when you're writing your hooks, or when you get to that stage where you're writing your paragraphs, let them be sloppy. Let them be horrible looking. Let there be a bunch of scratches and a bunch of whatever. Or scratch outs, whatever, or just worded terribly, but at least the gist, the content of what you want to say is there, and then you can use your brain to go back and revise it and fix it and reorganize it and whatever. And you'll do that too. You'll teach that later on. As they do, they write from their heart. They come up with a great hook, and then later, when they learn the tie-in and the thesis, they put it all together. There's this awesome power graph. And then they can use those same kind of concepts to build onto that, to weave a wonderful story. Of course, that comes later, but the hook, it's vitally important, to get your kids into the idea that, they just need to grab hold of the reader and bring them in. And that's all you have to do. Just some literary hooks that are out there. If you're a reader, like for the old classics, Moby Dick, it doesn't start off. The first line isn't this, but the hook is call me Ishmael. And, Who's Ishmael? You want to find out. As the reader, you want to keep going. You come to find out that he's the only survivor of the ship, you know. And, it's awesome. My favorite, Edgar Allan Poe in The Telltale Heart, he writes, "True, nervous, very, very nervous. I had been and am. But why will you say that I am mad?" Well, that's a great hook for me. I want to find out, are you mad? Are you nuts? Are you crazy? Or people just think you are? In a great book, Tangle Wreck. I love Tangle Wreck. Jeanette Winterston. She doesn't start off with this throat-grabbing hook to pull the reader in. Her story starts off with, at 6:45 one summer morning, a red London bus was crossing Waterloo Bridge. Well, for some of my readers, when they start reading that and it doesn't hook them right away, they might start to yawn, because that isn't great. The rest, if they continue reading in this story, there's more. London is described and this is described. But then if a little further along they read, "The bus and its passengers were never found. It was the first of the time tornadoes." See, there's the hook there. Sometimes the hook comes later. We need to teach our kids to put those hooks first, to construct a paragraph with a hook, a tie-in, and a thesis. But sometimes there's always going to be a hook somewhere. But your kids just need to practice writing good hooks. Let that be, the first week or two or three, just writing hooks, showing them, read them. Have 7 or 8 books. Find the hooks in the books. Let them see, and hear and listen to these awesome hooks. Even in movies, talk about that too. All the movies they've seen, they always begin with some kind of a hook, something that makes you want to sit and watch the rest to find out what's up, what's going on, who, what, where, when, and why. Absolutely. So, practice. Having your kids practice this. Make it fun. Also in my class, and of course this is up to you, but this year my kids have journals. 3 journals. One of them I call a heart journal. That's all the kid. Every morning I'm going to have them start. We've just started school, so the week after next, it's going to be every morning. They're going to come in and sit and write a little ditty in there. Something that happened on the bus, something that happened at breakfast, something that happened in the morning, something that happened the night before, whatever. And then at the end of the day, maybe we'll stop. I'm going to have them write every morning, but at the end of the day, sometimes, maybe not every day, I'm going to have them write about their day, just a little ditty. And this journal, this isn't something that I necessarily have to read. This is something, I'm going to keep it as their own journal. Something that they're going to just work on themselves. Not anything I'm going to grade or look at or criticize. Then we're going to have some other journals, a resource journal where there's going to be, they'll take it out and they'll keep notes in there, and especially on this hook thing. When we start the hooks, they're going to have a page where we're going to set up their journals, but they're going to have a page all about hooks, the different kinds of hooks, the actions, the word pictures, asking a question, onomatopoeia, an interesting fact, dialogue. Sometimes hooks are awesome dialogue too. 2 characters talking, you don't know who they are yet, but they said something intriguing and you must read on. So taking notes, having resource papers, gluing them in their journal so that when they need to go to find out something, they don't, as teachers, we want them to kind of move away from us. By the end of the school year, I want my students to be self-reliant, so they can pull out that notebook at any given time and go to any place and find something that they're looking for. They don't have to just get me, So, anyway, I want to make sure that's all I have to tell you today. It is, but, hooks, we got to start teaching it here at JBM, here with our district, especially the younger kids, and as they're growing, 5th and 6th grade, and then when they get into middle school and high school, so that when they get there, they already know this stuff, that they're already well gifted. Some students come in talented with writing, some aren't that talented with writing, but they can still learn to be good writers, when they get to higher grades, they've got a good foundation, and they can really start writing some good stuff. So I wish you all well. It's Saturday, the 8th of September. It's kind of rainy here in Smyrna, Delaware, but that's all right. It's cooler because it's been like equatorial Africa. It's been just so hot, but it's cooler today, so I'll take it. Take good care, my beloved newbies. Have a great rest of your weekend. And, think about this. Think about how you're going to get the kids excited about writing some awesome hooks for the beginnings of their stories. Take care. Bye.